time, there was a modest, beautiful young woman named Quarantine. On the outside, she was a picture of class and demure and grace. On the inside, she was brimming with fear. She was afraid of everything, of her family, of her neighbor's dog, of postmen, of people, of cruise ships, of airplanes, of 5G networks, of food and bats, of the CIA, you name it. She was afraid of it deeply. So she lived a careful life, avoiding people and dangerous places as much as she possibly could. That was until she met Pandemic. Pan oozed charisma. He had an infectious sense of humor. He was self-centered and destructive and had an insatiable ego. He was one of those people who could get inside your head without even realizing it, and before you knew it, he would have you in your bed for 2 weeks straight. When Quarantine and Pan met, she knew immediately he was trouble. Everything she tried to avoid, so she ran home immediately and locked the doors. Pan was taken aback. Usually his charm and infectious humor disarmed people instantly. They both couldn't get the others off their minds. Quarantine tried going about forgetting and avoiding him diligently, but Pan was diligent too. He made himself impossible for Quarantine to avoid. Eventually, he broke down her walls and unlocked her door. She tried taking space, but he persisted. They began to date. All Quarantine's fears were realized in this toxic relationship. To say Pan got around was an understatement, and Quarantine was too afraid to try and change it and too proud to ask for help. Pan got more and more disturbed as time passed. His selfish irreverence paired with his charm left exponential havoc wherever he went, and Quarantine got more and more afraid. It seemed the cycle would never end. Until one day, Quarantine had a dream. Ooh, ooh, ooh. A prophetic dream that she gave birth to a daughter, the daughter of her and Pandemic, a daughter named Vaccine. In the dream, Vaccine came, and she was so vulnerable and kind-eyed and reaching out with trust and innocence that both Quarantine and Pan reached back. Vaccine changed them both. Quarantine became brave, mastered her fear, and began learning, talking and discovering and making connections with the world around her. Pandemic saw his daughter, Vaccine, and her vulnerable trust, and for once he stopped thinking of only himself. He loved her, and she brought him so much joy that it changed him, and it changed everything. He started using his charm and charisma for care and making people's journeys easier, to open minds and bring people together. The Demic family changed the world, brought revolution, deconstructed the colonial capitalist patriarchy, everything. They created a revolution, and everyone was really happy. And then Quarantine awoke. Ooh, ooh. And she awoke to destruction. She awoke to a harsh reality of Pan and destruction and a huge problem. Everywhere she looked, there was a harsh reality. But then she went and she took a pregnancy test. And it turns out she was tested positive and was expecting a vaccine. Now, who knows if the prophecy will come true? It's just a dream. The end. Or is it the beginning?